recording. So in our last lecture, we looked at the different characteristic 1, characteristic 2, for example, characteristic 3. And then for each one of those characteristics, we had the number of blocks. Okay, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, E, F, G. And we looked at different combinations. Did I not share the screen? When you make an announcement, yeah, of course, just not right now, because we gotta like begin the lecture. But yeah, of course, I'm gonna put it up officially on Moodle right after we finish the lecture, inshallah. Okay, I was just answering somebody's question. Okay, so we're looking at different combinations. All right, and we drew the scale from the absolute strongest, which we might be a little bit crazy for us, to the absolute weakest. And the absolute weakest was all choice. All choice means I'm gonna pick every block to show up just once. And all strongest is the all combinations. Okay. Now we looked at the different pairwise and then T-wise, whatever it is. So T could be 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So here is pairwise. Okay, 2 pair followed by 3 pair. And obviously, the more pairs you go, 4 pair, until we get to n pair, and n equals number of characteristics. So so if in this example that I have over here, I ask you for 3 pairs, that's really as though I'm asking you for an all combination. Now, one thing about this entire approach that we were covering is that it looked at each one of those blocks within a characteristic as equals, okay? Equals in terms of importance. Now, one other way to find a median between those two extremes, the strongest being the all combinations and the weakest being the all choice, is actually completely different than just looking at the pairing up of the blocks, but rather the way we're going to look at it is by actually identifying that some blocks are actually more important than other blocks. So in characteristic number 3 over here, I might actually determine that E is the absolute most important. 2 here is more important than 1 and 3. And this would be given to us by subject matter experts, okay? The clients, somebody would actually let us know, why is it that block 3, block C, or block 2, or block E are more important? Usually because they are the ones who are exercised the most, they're executed the most. All right, so we'll begin with something called base choice, okay? I'm gonna put that over here. It's called base choice. Now, how does base choice work, okay? Again, let's begin with our 3 over here, 3 characteristics. Characteristic 1, 2, 3. Got our blocks. Got A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, E, F, G. And we said, for example, this is the more important one, more important one, more important one. Okay. Now, the test requirements for base choice coverage, okay, and that is this one over here, is first of all, we pick up all the bases, and then we do all combinations on all bases, okay? This won't make sense right now, the all combination, all bases, because we only have one base per characteristic, but later on we'll see that this could actually differ. But from a general point of view, we're really just looking for all the bases and a combination between. So the first one I want to pick up, let me just erase this, is the all combination of all the bases. So let me put them down, all bases. And basically I got A to G. All right. In other words, if you can think about it, if A is the most important block in characteristic 1, and 2 is the most important block in characteristic 2, and G is the most important block in characteristic 3, then really the most important test of all, if we can actually single out one single test requirement, that would be A to G. That would actually be A to G. So A to G is the most important. Now, what we're going to do now I want you to pay attention with this, is we gonna do each choice for non-base blocks, okay? Now, how do we do this? Okay? First, we choose 2. We hold on to 2 bases, okay, or all the bases except for 1, okay? So this time I'm gonna decide to release characteristic 3, and then I start to pick up the other ones that are non-base on an each choice basis, okay? So I need E and F to show up just one time, but to show up one time with who? With the basis of characteristic 1 and characteristic 2, or any other characteristics that I have, okay? So I would have, so releasing here, releasing base of characteristic 3, I get the following test requirements. Whoops, I don't want to go too far. We have A to E, okay, and that is this one over here. And then the next one, as you can imagine, is that one over there. So it's going to be A to F. All right. Next thing I want to do is now I'm going to go back again and grab the base for characteristic 3. Let us now release base of characteristic 2. Okay, so we're going to release this one. And we'll pick up the other ones that we have on an each choice basis while holding on to the basis of characteristic 1 and 3. So that gives us AG, and I know I got another AG, and one time in the AG, I'm gonna hook up with the 3, and another time I'm gonna hook up with the 1, okay? So it's A1G, and we got the A3G over here. Last but not least, I'm gonna be doing the same thing, releasing base of characteristic 1, okay? That gives me that I have to pick up B and C along with the basis of characteristics 2 and 3. So it gives me B2G as well as, C2G. Okay, here we are. We got B2G and then C2G. Okay, and with that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 test requirements from the released basis, in addition to 1 test requirement from the all bases being an all combination. And again, I don't want to confuse you too much by saying all combinations, but really because there's only 1 base, so we're just actually picking up all the bases together, and that's my all bases test requirement. All right. So let me ask first here, does anybody have any questions about what I just said? It's very important that you get this very clearly, because what's coming next is building up on it. If everybody understands this well, then just say, yes, sir, yes, doctor, I understand this, very good, very clear. Let me hear something from you guys. Okay, Faye, and everybody else, there's a lot of you here. Clear, good, Ibrahim, Nasser, Banan, Dreya, Sadoun, Fahad. Oh, no, is Fahad here? No, Fahad is not here. Sadoun, good? Okay, good, good. So let's do an exercise. Let's do a little quick exercise here. Huh? All right. Okay, I have, let's just say 1, characteristic 2, characteristic 3. Let's make it more interesting, characteristic 4. Wow, it's an ugly block. This one is just 2. So go A, B, 1, 2, C, D, E, F, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let me just fix the D because it looks really ugly. Okay, here are the bases, 4, E, 1, and B. Okay, and in an exam, of course, I'm gonna let you know what are the bases. Okay, if I'm asking for base choice coverage, I'm gonna asking you for all the bases. Now, let's do this together. Okay, all bases. The test requirements for it is. Can you please tell me? What is the test requirements for the all bases? B1, E4, very good. Type. Which one should we release first? Pick one. Do you want to release C4? Sounds good? Okay, let's release C4. So releasing C4 means I want to pick up 5 and 3. Okay, so what are the test requirements? Releasing C4. The test requirements here is, can you write it down? Yeah, B1, E3, B1, E5. Good. Next up, releasing C3. Let's go for it. That means I have I have C, D, and F that I want to pick up. Okay, B1, you said C4. Go ahead. What else? B1, D4. And I'm sure there's one more. B1, F4. Good. Releasing. What's the next one? C2. That means I have to pick up 2. So what's the test requirements here? There's actually just one, and that is B1. No, sorry, not B1. Just kidding. B2. Yalla. E4. Okay. Finally, releasing characteristic 1. All right, characteristic 1 will give us A1, E4. That's exactly correct. A1, E4. Okay. Now, how many test requirements did we end up with here? Huh? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Right? How is it that in an exam we make sure that we're on the right track? Okay. I know my old bases in base coverage is just 1. Okay, because I'm just gonna go through the 1, and then as we're solving the exercise, you notice I keep saying I gotta pick up this one and this one from the non-base, and I pick them up just the one time. So all I have to do is count the all bases plus, and the all base is always equal to 1, plus the remaining blocks that are not base. Okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So from the non-base, I got 7, and from the all bases, I got 1. 1 plus 7, that gives me 8. All right. So let me do this here again. Let me erase this. Let's do a different example. And now we're going to go a little bit extreme here. Okay. No, it doesn't really matter. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. And whatever these are the bases. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And if I ask you for base coverage, how many test requirements do we have? Your answer would be all bases. That gives me 1 plus non-base. And how many would that be? 3, 4, 5. 16 non-base. Did I read this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so it's 15. I think Nasser, you meant like the entire set of test requirements. So I think this is what he actually meant. Yeah. Okay, total, yes. All right. So again, is this clear for everyone? When we did the exercises, was it smooth? You can follow me very clearly as I was saying this. Everyone, type something. I just need you to type something. Okay, I can't see you, so I need you to type something. Okay, so let me erase this now. All right. Okay, so now the next thing that I'm going to talk about is, oops. Here's characteristic 1, 2, characteristic 3. Okay, column 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, E. Oh, what did I do this for? I named it all wrong. There we go. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, E, F, G. Okay. And this is what we were used to, right? We have a single base like that. Okay. Type. It might be that we might come across a situation and say characteristic number 3. And well, the way I'm looking at it is that G happens 10% of the time. F happens 40% of the time. 40? No, sorry. Yeah, this is 20. G happens 20% of the time. F happens 20% of the time. That means E happens how much percent? 100 minus 40 minus, yeah, it's exactly 40%. Now, that means that E is really just as strong as F, okay? So I'm gonna label here E as another base, okay? And that gives rise to a different level of criteria, and that's called multiple base coverage, okay? But multiple base coverage, despite the scary name, again, the answer is very simple. We're doing all bases, all combinations, followed by every non-base would be done as each choice. Okay, so let me just erase this part of the screen. Okay, so if I do the test requirements for this, now my O basis, it's not going to be exactly one as I did before. It's going to be different. Okay, I'm going to pick up, first of all, I'm going to do all combination with all the base. So I got A to F, thank you, Abdurrahman, A to E, and I got A to F. Okay, those of you who are not following, here it is, A to E followed by A to F. Okay, next up, I am going to need to hold on to release one characteristic. Okay, now let's begin with the easy one. Okay, if I release characteristic 3, that means I'm not going to hold on to any base in characteristic 3. That gives me only G here to pick up. So that gives me A to G. Okay, and again, those of you who are not following, this is actually this one over there. Okay, and similarly, now, okay, so that's the easy one. Now, for the more difficult, so the releasing characteristic 2. All right, that means I have to pick up 1 and 3. But here's the thing, it's not just enough to pick up 1 from the bases from C3, because E and F are both equally the same. Okay, so my test requirements would require that I'll take the A from here. Okay, and I want to get that 1, but one time I'm going to get it with the E, and one time I'm going to get it with the F. Okay, similarly, when I'm doing the 3, I'm going to combine it with the A, but one time I'm going to do it with the E, and one time I'm going to do it with the F. That gives us 4. That's correct, ya Abdurrahman. So that's A, 1, E, A1, F, followed by A3, E, and A3, F. Finally, when we're releasing, what was it? I forgot. Yeah, C1. Coffee has not kicked in for some reason just yet. Okay. All right, so releasing A1, C1, and again, the same thing means, I want to pick up B and C, but as I'm picking up B and C, I want to pick them up one time in characteristic 3 with the E, and another one with the F. So this is what I'm going to be doing. Okay, and then with the C, I'm going to be doing the same thing. Okay, so that gives me another 4, and those are C to E and C to F, followed by C. Oh, sorry, not C. Yeah, and also B. I forgot. Yeah, B to E and B to F. Okay. In total, how many test requirements did I have? Can somebody count? 11, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that's good. How many, if you remember, when we had that E being a regular base, so a regular block, not a base. Do you remember how many we had? If you don't remember, count them again. Okay, we got the old bases 1, then we got, we say go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it gives me a total of 7. Okay, so obviously 7 is less than 11. So that means the more the bases that I'm going to put in, the more what's I'm going to say here, the more test requirements I'm going to get. Yeah, this is the word I'm looking for. Again, I'm not really sure why coffee is not kicked in, but anyway, so let us go one step further. Let's just go one step further. Let me just erase this screen. And let's do this, huh? You got the same three characteristics, C1, C2, C3. Let me split them to a little wider. C2 and C3. I got my three blocks. Now, again, what I'm going to be doing right now is something we haven't seen before, but you should be able to put 2 and 2 together based on what I've already told you and tell me the answer for this. So this, again, we're still doing multiple base choice. Now, obviously, I don't actually need to tell you multiple base. At the moment you see more than one base highlighted in a characteristic, you know this is multiple base, okay? But here's the bases that I have. I got E, 1, and B, but I also have 2 and G, okay? Now, it's the same deal, same stuff that we've done before. We do all combinations between all the bases. And then we do each choice for the other one. And the way we do each choice is that as we pick in each choice, we go to the characteristics that have more than one base, and we have to pick up each one of those bases every time we're doing the each choice for the other ones. Okay, type. For the all bases, let's begin first. All bases. How many do we have? 4. How do we know that we have 4? Because we got 2 from C3, we got 2 from C2, we're going to do combination, and we got 1 from C1. That gives me 4. Okay, and these are little tricks you should do. These are little math hints that you should do in your mind as you're solving these questions in an exam, so that you know you're on the right track or not. So I know that all bases are going to give me 4 test requirements. Okay, those are, and somebody else other than Abdurrahman, please be engaged in the class. What are the test requirements here? Okay, thank you, Ibrahim. B1E, B1G, B2E, and B2G. Okay, everybody concur? Yeah, that looks actually just about right. Again, we'll begin with the easy stuff. We'll be releasing characteristic 3. What are the test requirements here? How many test requirements? Before actually you tell me what are the test requirements, how many test requirements? 2. How did you get that, Ibrahim? Okay. Now, basically, we're doing all combinations between the other 2 characteristics. Okay. So 1 multiplied by 2, but then we multiply by the 1 that is actually left. Okay. From the 1 that we're releasing. So when we're picking up, say, when we're releasing C3, we're always just going to pick 1 from C3. And we see how many of the empty ones we're going to sink into. Okay. So what are the test requirements? It's answers, please. B1 F, B2 F. Okay, releasing C2 gives me B3E and B3G. Again, in case something slipped, let me know. Now, releasing characteristic 1. Okay, so remember I was saying we're doing all combinations. So I know I'm going to be doing this, and that. So I know as I'm going up here, I'm getting 4. Okay, and it's 4 multiplied by how many are left. Okay, so I knew I was going to get 2 test requirements here. Okay, because it was a 1 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. Okay, and I'm going to get 2 test requirements here. Same thing, 2 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 1. And when I release C3, I know it's 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by the empty ones that I'm going to be picking up, which is 2 here. All right, so that gives me a total of 8. I know I'm going to get 8. So let's see how we're going to get those 8. Okay. First of all, like I said, I know I'm going to be doing all combinations here. So let me write those down so I don't get confused. And every time I'm just going to pick one. Okay. So I got 1E. Okay. And I got 2E. And I also have 1E, 2E. And I have 1G. And I'm going to have 2G. But all of this is happening with the first non-base. Okay, all of this again over here, all of this again, it's going to repeat with the second non-base. So this is, so with the second non-base, same thing is going to repeat. So the first non-base was A, and the second non-base was a C. So here we go. We go A, and then C, 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 C. That gives me 8 test requirements. Okay. How many in total did we have? How many in total? It's 8 plus 2 plus 4. That's 16. Did I get? Oh yeah, plus another 2. Yeah, 8 plus 2, so that's 16. Okay. Now remember, when we had in the last exercise, it was 11 because we had a total of 4 bases. The exercise before, when we had a total of 3 bases, we had just 7. So the more bases that we're doing, we are increasing the number of test requirements. In other words, we're becoming more thorough in our testing. Okay, let me go back here again. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna go totally crazy on you now. Imagine this scenario. Let me pick up a different color. I don't like this color. Okay, there we go. This is the base, this is the base, this is the base. This is the base, this is the base, this is the base. Base, base, base. All right, and without actually doing the exercise, tell me how many total test requirements do we have? Exactly. Okay, because the first of all, there's no non-base. Okay, so the other second of the equation doesn't factor in because we don't have any non-base to begin with, and we always do all bases, all combinations, right? So that's 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 gives me 27. Okay. All right. Now let's do an exercise here. All right. Now, first question I'm going to ask you is how many test requirements are you going to end up with? Okay, by breaking it down, the O, oops, that's not what I'm looking for. The O bases part and the non-bases part. Give you a moment to think about it. O bases 4. How did you get that, Ibrahim? Exactly. Okay, so Ibrahim just multiplied all of these together. That's good. Okay, now the other one is a little trickier. Okay, now for the non-base one, simplify the equation for yourselves. Okay, this is characteristic 1, characteristic 2, characteristic 3, characteristic 4. You know, think about it. What happens when you release characteristic 1, when you release characteristic 2, characteristic 3, characteristic 4? Because there isn't one formula that just hits it all together. Okay, now characteristic 1, when we release it, how many test cases do we get? And so on and so forth. I just want to write this down again with a different font. Okay. So when I release, Abdurrahman, are you answering the question? Yeah. Okay. So Abdurrahman, when I'm releasing, okay, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So when I'm releasing characteristic 1, I get 4. How do I know I get 4? Because as I'm going up, okay, and I'm trying to sink into A, how many combinations am I possibly getting as I'm going up over here? Okay, it's easy. It's easy to calculate this, and it's basically multiplying the bases that I have when I'm coming in from the bottom. Okay, so as I'm coming in from the bottom, coming in with 4, and then I multiply by how many that I sink in at the top. So that gives me a total of 4. Same thing, of course, with C2. When I release C2, now when I release C3, how many test requirements do I have? All right, so yeah. So again, it's all about how many I'm gonna sink in when I go into E and F. Sorry, D and E, okay? I have the 1, 1, and the 2 at the bottom. They're all multiplied by each other, okay? So that means that I'm going into C and D with 1 multiplied by 2, that's 2 here, and a 2 here. That gives me a total of 4. Okay, so that's 4, and obviously this one will be 4. So in total, I got 16 over here, plus the 4 all bases. That gives me a total of 20. Okay. Last one is, oh yeah. Well, sorry, I didn't see that. C4 is not, I thought C4 looked exactly as, yeah, good eye, Banan. So, okay, so here we go. We got the 1 multiplied by the 1 multiplied by the 2, sinking into the 1. Okay, so that gives me a total of 2. When I release, why is it not writing? This is the time where it starts to freeze up. Give me a total of 2. So yeah, I apologize. So that's 14, and that gives me a total of 18. Okay. Yeah, for a moment I thought C4 looked exactly the same thing as C3. All right. Now, having said so, well, I'm pretty sure now that you know that there's 18, that when you actually start to do, and you know where the sources of the 18 comes from, huh? Yeah, 4 from the old bases, all right, and the other ones were 14. Had I switched something up, okay, one last example here, just to make sure that you really know what's going on. Here, let me actually erase this. Let us do this again. Okay, how many test requirements? Okay. And again, I want you to give me all bases, and then the non-base. And again, it's releasing C1, releasing C2, releasing C3 and releasing C4. Okay, all bases. One thing that is a fact before I even begin this exercise, because we actually have less bases, I'm going to actually end up with fewer test requirements. Okay, so all bases 2, releasing R1, that gives me 2, releasing R2, C2, another 2, releasing C3, another 2. Now here's the tricky one, releasing C4, 4. How did we get this? Okay, right? Yes, I know I'm coming in this one time this way, I'm coming in one time that way. All right, and as I'm coming in the first time, I'm gonna be doing one sinking over here, one sinking over there, and then one sinking over here, one sinking over there. Okay, so it's really 1 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 2 multiplied by the number of free bases at the end. It gives me a total of we said 4. So here the total is 10 plus 2, a total of 12 test requirement. And to wrap up this lecture, remember we said we had 2 extremes here. Strongest, that's the O combinations. And then the weakest, that's the weakest each choice. Okay, in the middle we can go the pairwise approach, or we can go the base approach. Okay, and the pairwise, obviously 2 pair, then the more pairs you go until you get to n pair, and n pair, if it's equal to the number of characteristics, that's the same thing as all combinations. Okay, the base choice, again we got base coverage, then we have multiple base coverage, multiple base coverage, and the more bases we have, the more test requirements we get, until we get to a point, the absolute extreme, if the number of bases equals to the number of characteristics. That's really the same thing as all combinations as well, but it's a completely different paradigm than the pairwise approach. Okay, so we got the 2 paradigms. The base approach depends on us identifying that some blocks are more important than other ones. Pairwise doesn't consider the importance of one block over the other one, but all it does, it just considers the combinations that we can actually end up with at the end, while pairing the different blocks from the different characteristics. All right, so any questions about this, guys? Is it clear for everyone? Okay, so let me just pause the recording here.